Before the word, the secret behind all creation, there was a moment before sound, before thought, before anything that could be named. And in that moment, everything was already complete. Before any word was spoken, before language wrapped reality in labels, there was only pure awareness. This awareness wasn't thinking, wasn't seeing through eyes, wasn't feeling with hands. It was just there, existing without form, without name, without shape. Yet it was the source from which everything arose. Most people believe creation started with a word. In many spiritual texts, it's written, "In the beginning was the Word." But that phrase itself is pointing to something deeper. The mystery before the word. Before any sound vibrated through existence, there was silence. That silence wasn't emptiness, it was fullness, a boundless potential, the womb of all things. Non-duality means there is no second, only one. One truth, one reality, one awareness, appearing as many. But to understand this, you must go back, far back, before thought, before belief, before even the sense of I am. That's where the secret hides. You've never been separate from this, you just forgot. Like clouds covering the sun, thoughts, emotions, and identifications cover your true nature. But peel it all back, your name, your memories, your beliefs, your desires. What's left? A silent presence, a knowing without needing to know. This is not philosophy, it's not belief, it's direct experience. And everyone has access to it. When a baby is born, it doesn't know it's a baby. It doesn't know it's a boy or a girl. It doesn't know language, yet it experiences. It is. That's the original state, the pure presence that existed before the word, and still exists now. The mind is obsessed with naming, tree, sky, love, anger. But reality doesn't speak English or Hindi or Arabic. Reality doesn't speak, it is. Everything you see is the movement of one stillness. The ocean appears as waves, yet the wave is never separate from the ocean. Even thoughts, which seem so personal, arise in awareness. You don't choose your next thought. It appears, you witness it. But even the witness, the I am that watches thoughts, is also a thought. So what remains when even the watcher is gone? This is where language breaks down. You can't speak about it, only be it. And the truth is, you already are, always have been. You are that which comes before the word, before the identity, before duality. Look at any moment right now. Before you say, I see a tree, remove the words. What is really there? Shapes, colors, maybe. But even those are ideas. Strip that away. What's left is seeing, raw, labelless, unfiltered. That's presence. That's the real you. In deep meditation, when the mind begins to settle, you touch this space. Not an altered state, not a fantasy, but reality without interpretation. There's no past or future here. Just now, just being. When mystics say God is within, they don't mean a person hiding in your chest. They mean the awareness that witnesses everything, silently, without judgment. That is the divine, that is the truth, and it's not far away. It's what's looking out through your eyes right now. The secret behind all creation is not a thing. It's not energy or matter or particles. It's not even consciousness as we normally understand it. It's beyond all concepts. It's what allows every concept to appear. And here's the most astonishing part. This secret can't be taught, only revealed. You don't need to become something to see it. You need to stop being everything you think you are. Let go of your story. Let go of your opinions. Let go of even the search for truth. And what remains is truth itself, silent, infinite, and absolutely still. That stillness is the source of all creation. It was never missing. You just weren't looking with the right eyes. Spiritual practice isn't about gaining, it's about losing. Peeling away all the layers until only the naked awareness remains. And when you stand there in the rawness of being, you realize you were never born, you never die. You are the space in which all life dances. This is the mystery. This is the silence before the word, and you are it. Duality is a trap. Here's how to escape it. What if everything you've believed about opposites, good and bad, light and dark, self and other, was an illusion? In the spiritual journey, we're told to choose the light over darkness, the truth over lies, love over hate. But the deeper you go, the more you begin to see a hidden truth. These opposites only exist because of the mind's way of dividing reality. This division is what we call duality. And duality is not just an idea, it's a trap that keeps us spinning in endless cycles of seeking, judging, and suffering. Let's start at the root. Duality is the idea that there are two sides to everything. You versus the world, spirit versus matter, life versus death. On the surface, this seems logical. That's how our senses work. They detect contrast. But spiritually, this becomes a prison. It convinces us that we are separate beings navigating a world of separate objects and people. We say things like, I am spiritual, or I must overcome my ego, never realizing that these thoughts are themselves stuck in duality. The belief in a subject and an object, a doer and a task. Non-duality, on the other hand, points beyond all of this. It says, there is no two, there's no self and other, no inner and outer, no heaven and earth, only one boundless, timeless presence, consciousness itself. Escaping the trap of duality isn't about rejecting the world or clinging to oneness as a belief. It's about deeply realizing that what you are is not limited to this body, these thoughts, or this life story. What you are is the space in which all things appear, the awareness in which opposites arise and dissolve. And that awareness is not split into two. It has no edges, no name, no opposite. So why does duality feel so real? Because the mind cannot function without it. The mind is a machine of separation. It categorizes, compares, and creates boundaries. It labels one moment happy and the next sad. It says, this is me, and that is you. And in doing so, it builds a world full of borders that don't actually exist. This is why meditation, self-inquiry, and present moment awareness are so powerful. They allow you to stop identifying with thought and return to the stillness underneath. The more you rest in that stillness, the more clearly you see that the division between you and the world is only a story. An incredibly detailed, convincing story, but still just a story. To escape duality, don't try to destroy it. That's just another game of opposites. Fighting duality is still duality. Instead, see through it. Recognize that both sides of every conflict, every inner war, are being witnessed by something that remains untouched. That something is what you truly are. Let's take the example of good and evil. We're taught to chase the good and reject the bad. But who decides what is good? And what happens when something bad leads to unexpected growth? These labels shift depending on time, culture, and perspective. Which means they're not absolute. They're constructs. They arise in the mind, not in reality. The same goes for success and failure, right and wrong, spiritual and unspiritual. As long as we play in this field of duality, we stay stuck in judgment. We try to control life, fix ourselves, and become better. But what if you didn't need to be better? What if the real freedom comes when you see there was never a separate you to begin with? This is not about becoming passive or ignoring the pain in the world. It's about waking up from the illusion that you are separate from the world. When you dissolve that false division, compassion flows naturally. You no longer help others to gain something. You help because you are them. You are all of it. Duality creates conflict. Non-duality ends it. Duality creates effort. Non-duality dissolves the need for effort. Duality says, I must reach the light. Non-duality says, you are the light already, and the darkness too. Every moment you pause and witness the thoughts in your mind without identifying with them, you're taking a step out of the trap. Every time you choose presence over reaction, silence over noise, awareness over judgment, you're breaking the chains of duality. Freedom is not found in becoming something. It's found in realizing you are never anything separate in the first place. You are not the thinker. You are the awareness of thought. You are not the body. You are the space in which the body appears. You are not a seeker of truth. You are the truth, noticing itself through this dream called life. There is only one consciousness, playing as many. The trap of duality is forgetting that. And the escape, it's as simple and as radical as remembering. Enlightenment is not a victory. It's a funeral. We think enlightenment is the grand prize at the end of the spiritual race. But in truth, it's the slow, quiet death of everything you thought you were. The idea that enlightenment is some kind of personal achievement is one of the greatest illusions in the spiritual path. We imagine ourselves becoming radiant beings, bathed in divine light, rising above the world like heroes in some mystical fairy tale. But the deeper truth is far more humbling and far more powerful. It is the complete dissolution of the you that sought it in the first place. Enlightenment doesn't give you anything. It takes everything. It strips away your beliefs, your identity, your attachments, your dreams, and even your sense of being a seeker. It doesn't elevate the self. It buries it. And in its place, there is nothing left but silence, stillness, and the vast, open awareness that has always been here. This is why enlightenment is not a victory. It's a funeral. It's the funeral of the ego, the funeral of your name, your story, your desires, your fears. It's the burial of the illusion of separateness. And what remains is not you enlightened. It is reality, unfiltered and raw, awake in its purest form. People don't want this. Most spiritual seekers don't want real enlightenment. They want transcendence without surrender. They want power without death. But the final truth of non-duality is clear. There is no becoming. There is only unbecoming. In this light, the journey of awakening is not a climbing upwards, but a falling downwards into the core of being, into the emptiness from which all arises. You do not grow into enlightenment. You shrink out of illusion. You do not evolve into the divine. You dissolve into what is already divine. The ego resists this truth. It fears it, because the ego is built on stories, and stories need a main character. But in awakening, the main character dies, not physically, but existentially. And in that death, the drama ends. The play is over, the curtains fall. You no longer exist as a separate observer of life. You are life. This funeral is not morbid, it's liberation. Because only when the false self is gone can the truth shine unobstructed. And that truth has no face, no shape, no name. It is not something you can claim or explain. It is the silent presence that was watching even when you thought you were watching. Enlightenment is not about gaining control over life. It's about realizing that there is no controller. No one behind the thoughts. No self managing the show. Just awareness appearing as thoughts, feelings, sensations, and the illusion of a me trying to make sense of it all. And when the illusion of the separate self dies, What's left is not a void, but fullness. Not a person who is free, but freedom itself. Not an awakened individual, but awakening itself, appearing as this very moment. The funeral of the self is the birth of truth, but this birth doesn't belong to anyone. It is not personal. It's not an upgrade of the ego. It's the absence of the ego. That's why so many so-called enlightened teachers fall back into the traps of power, pride, and control. The ego dresses itself in spiritual clothing, and the funeral is postponed again. But real awakening doesn't make you special. It makes you nobody. It doesn't give you answers. It burns the questions. It doesn't bring peace to the self. It reveals that the self was the disturbance all along. In the end, nothing happens. There is no moment when you get it. There's just the collapse of the one who thought there was something to get. The funeral of the self is not the end of life. It's the beginning of reality. And this reality is so ordinary, so present, so simple, that the ego always misses it while looking for something grand. But when the seeker dies, what remains is just this: unfiltered, unowned, ungraspable. So don't chase enlightenment as a prize. Let it be your death. Let it be the quiet burial of the illusion you thought was you. And in that stillness, you'll find what can never be found, because it was never lost. Freedom isn't in choice. It's beyond it. The ego says freedom is choice. Spirit knows freedom is choicelessness. We think freedom means having options. To go left or right, to be this or that, to pursue what we want. But that's not freedom. That's just a more comfortable prison. Real freedom is when the chooser disappears. Look closely. Who is choosing? The one who picks between options, who weighs pros and cons. Is that really you? Or is it just a pattern? A bundle of memories, beliefs, fears, and desires playing out. The mind says, I decide. But decision is just another event. It arises and passes like clouds in the sky. The deeper you look, the more you see. There's no separate doer. Life is moving. Thoughts are arising. Actions are happening. But the I behind them is an illusion. This is terrifying for the ego. It wants control. But for spirit, it's the greatest peace. Because when there's no controller, there's no conflict. Non-duality shows us the wave doesn't choose to rise. The bird doesn't choose to fly. And you, the real you, aren't choosing either. You're not separate from the happening. You are the happening. Choice implies distance, a chooser apart from the options. But in truth, there is only what is. No distance, no gap, just flow. This doesn't mean you become passive. On the contrary, you become fully alive. Decisions still happen. Words are still spoken. But there's no tension around them, no anxiety, no fear of wrong choice. Because the whole idea of control is gone. This is what freedom beyond choice feels like. Lightness, spaciousness, deep trust in the unfolding. It's like walking through life without dragging the burden of me everywhere. Things happen and you respond, not from strategy, but from presence, not from resistance, but from alignment. And the beauty, you begin to see that life has always been this way. All your past choices, you didn't make them. They happened. Thoughts arose. Actions followed. And they all brought you here, to this moment, where you're not a prisoner of fate, because you're not separate from it. This is not fatalism. It's freedom from the illusion of personal control. And in that freedom, love blossoms, compassion deepens. Because if no one is truly in control, how can we blame? How can we judge? We're all waves in the same ocean, moving as one. To live this way is to stop fighting, not out of defeat, but out of clarity. You stop trying to bend life to your will and you let life move through you. Suddenly, the smallest moment feels sacred because you're not doing life anymore. You're being it, and that is the final truth. There's no you apart from this moment. No you making things happen. Just this. Raw, alive, complete. Not your choice. Just grace.